Ever wonder exactly how humanity lost its spot in God's family and, more importantly, the specific way that friendship gets restored? Well, welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving deep into the pathway to divine reconciliation. We're going to break down exactly how Adam and Eve lost their relationship with God and the fascinating, brilliantly designed mechanism used to repair it. It's a journey from total loss to incredible hope. So, let's get into it. Let's ground ourselves right away with a key text. Romans chapter 5, verse 10 says, "We became reconciled to God through the death of his Son." This is the core theme of our explainer today. Notice that word reconciled. It implies fixing a bond that was completely severed. But, to really grasp how massive this is, we got to look at what was actually broken in the first place. Like, why do we even need reconciliation at all? So that brings us to our first main point, the lost relationship. Specifically, how Adam and Eve lost their place in God's family. The timeline of this whole tragedy is actually incredibly specific, and honestly, it's the key to understanding our situation today. Think about it. Originally, Adam and Eve were a part of God's family. They had this beautiful, close relationship with their Creator. But then, they disobey Jehovah and they're expelled. Now here is the absolutely crucial detail. They were kicked out before they started having children. Because of that sequence of events, because of that exact timeline, we, as their descendants, essentially inherited this state of estrangement. We were born outside the family from day one, which, leaves us in a pretty precarious position. It forces us to ask, since we inherited this estrangement, since we didn't even make the initial mistake, how in the world do we fix a broken relationship with God? How do we find a way back into a family we were never technically a part of? And that brings us to the next part of our explainer, moving from enemy to friend, and really understanding reconciliation. The original language behind this idea is just fascinating. The Greek word used in the scriptures for reconcile literally means to make a friend out of an enemy. Let that sink in for a second. It doesn't just mean calling a truce or just tolerating each other. It's an active, total transformation. It's taking a state of real enmity and turning it into a warm, restored friendship. It totally flips the script, right? It shifts us from despairing over what Adam lost to having this profound hope for what we can actually gain. But here's the catch. How does a severed relationship between imperfect people and a perfect God actually get repaired? Well, amazingly, Jehovah is the one who took the initiative to make this happen. Think about that. Even though humanity was the party that messed up and caused the rift, God proactively took the very first step to bridge the gap and restore that friendship. So let's look at exactly how he did that in our next section, the atonement arrangement and restoring what was lost. So, how did Jehovah make this possible? How do you legally and rightfully transform an enemy into a friend when God's perfect justice is on the line? To fix the massive damage caused back in Eden, Jehovah instituted a very specific framework. It's called the atonement arrangement. Now, this arrangement operates on a strict principle of justice. At its core, it's about exchanging one thing for another thing of absolute equal value. It's a perfect balance. It's not about just, sweeping a wrong under the rug or looking the other way. It's about satisfying justice by providing an exact corresponding value for what was lost. Remember, one perfect human life was lost by Adam, and that's what caused the rift. So the atonement arrangement requires an exchange of absolute equal value, a perfect human life to completely balance those scales. So practically speaking, here's how atonement works. This equal exchange brilliantly balances those scales of justice. It means that something ruined is perfectly replaced. Something lost or destroyed, it's rightfully regained. And by doing this, it bridges that impossible gap we talked about earlier. It's this incredibly elegant solution to a devastating problem, completely restoring a good relationship between Jehovah and sinful humans. So, seeing the timeline of the tragedy and understanding the absolute extraordinary lengths Jehovah went to just to provide that exact equal value exchange, the pathway is officially open for us. The real question we're left with is, now that the pathway is open, will you take the steps to embrace this restored relationship and actually become God's friend? To dig a little deeper into the atonement arrangement and explore this topic further, definitely visit jw.org. And hey, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and press that bell icon so you get notified about our next explainer. Thanks so much for joining us, and never stop learning.